Hello and welcome to Drivible. So, if you are a dealer principal, management, you're in finance, or just anyone working at a car dealership in Australia, then I want to talk to you about how you could be saving up to $80,000 a year, possibly more, depending on the size of your dealership, by using Drivible for your document storage and management. So, most car dealerships there are using paper storage. I'm assuming you probably are. And I'm going to go through and explain in detail how this affects you. But first, I want to show you Drivible in action. So we've got here a repair order, and I'm just going to load up the Drivible platform, copy over the email address, and simply attach here, send through, and in a few moments that should get processed. So, how much are you actually paying for your paper storage? That's the big question. Most car dealerships, they just don't know. They don't realize that, across 20 people, 30 people, depends on the size of your car dealership. Maybe it's only 10 people, but you are spending nearly a person worth of work just dealing with paper storage. Now, if you have some old document storage solution, it may be that you're also using something that's inefficient. If you've got something in-house, you're not really for Drivible. If you're really small, then you're also probably not going to get much use out of Drivible. So I can just change some settings here and show as an example that people who just aren't using much in the way of paper storage are going to end up losing money. But if you're doing at all, let's say 20, maybe 40 repairs a day, and you could be doing, I don't know, how many cars are you selling? 20, 30? I bet you want to be doing a few per week. And how many accounts do you end up having to pay? So this is invoices that you have to process. And I'll show you that I can just go into here, reset to the defaults, and here is an example where in Sydney you could be saving $100,000 a year because it's going to cost you $118,760 ish in your paper storage, and it's only going to cost you about $6,500 for a subscription to Drivible, and maybe there's another $6,000 in labor. So what that tells me is it's time to check here and see whether that service came through. Boom, Hanako Arasaka is here. And let's just make this a bit bigger. So you can see it's picked out the repair order number. It's picked out some of the client details with email, address, and things like the document date, service description, some of the make and model, and other details. Now, this is just a single page repair order. Most repair orders are about 7 pages from what we've seen. Your templates and settings will be different, but if you need to find this, you can simply search for that repair order number and jump straight to it. And boom, here's your document. You can download it, you can open it in the browser, and it's there. So your documents are in the cloud, very easy to search for. Hanako, Arasaka, I can find the client, the service, and I also played with the bulk document processing, which is a whole other service to make things much faster to get your data into Drivible, get your documents in. So the focus here is on our storage calculator. Now, if you are if you're doing in the order of 700,000 pages over the course of 7 years, you are definitely going to be a decent sized dealership. And doesn't matter whether you're in Adelaide or Sydney or whatever it is, you're still going to have a decent bit of savings by changing over to Drivible. Some points: you got floor space. You just going to be taking up like 150 meters cubed, or in the order of 256 cabinets. Now, we don't assume that you're actually using file cabinets that much, just for really important things, but actually we generally expect that you're going to be using archive boxes and binders and things. So maybe there's only $1,000 in equipment and supplies and $2,000 in real estate. However, you're looking at lots of filing costs and retrieval time. You're spending thousands of hours in filing. You go talk to the people doing your repair orders, and if you're doing 40 hours or 200 a week, they've got to go sort them all, then go and that means putting them in order, then filing them all together, then putting them in boxes, labeling it all, doing all that. Especially that sorting bit takes hours of work to be done correctly, so that you can find your documents in 10 minutes or less. But as you could see, with Drivible, we're talking about seconds to find your documents. You put your document in a scanner, boom, you scan, you send it our email address, it's in our system in moments. So we are assuming that you are going to be saving a fair bit of labor. Now, I can show you some of this breakdown if you want to go in detail, in that we're assuming in the order of about a minute per document just to sort of file them, because you've got to get them somewhat in a chronological, or at least a number order. And when you're just dealing with lots and you got them all spread out and you got to sort them, if you're do any computer science, bubble sorting or any of the other sorting things, it takes a long time. We're assuming you don't do as many deals or invoices, or don't care so much about the exact ordering, because they are either much bigger documents or much less likely to have to go and file them, so you don't have to put as much effort in. The retrieval rate here, we're assuming in the order of just 1% of documents actually get retrieved per year. So 1 in 100 there. You're not actually going through the boxes and finding them that often, but when you do, we're assuming it takes 10 minutes. Now, talking to most car dealerships, they strive for 10 minutes, but it often takes 15 to 20 minutes when you're busy, you got to grab 2 or 3 documents, whatever it is. The receptionists will especially hate that 10 minutes, because there is someone, or often 3 people, waiting at reception whilst they're trying to go find those documents. So equipment costs are very little. We're assuming you're using archive boxes for most things. Some of the documents, like 5% of them, you might put in binders because they're really important documents. especially some of the accounts payable, or maybe you've got audited repair orders or whatever it might be. And we're assuming that you're paying equipment costs over 7 years. Somewhat of a shelving and setup for the actual storage room, $15,000 for that. Again, amortized over 7 years. Compare that to Drivible. So for in the order of anything with 10 to 20 users is $520 a month. And here, this example just starts to get above that. So you're looking at, it's currently $26 per user per month. So about $546 for this example here. And so it's about $6,500 a year. And we're assuming here you're probably going to spend way less in labor compared to what you did before, because it is just a lot easier to get the documents in, to find them, to deal with them. There's some training costs. Again, this is per year, amortized over 7 years though, so times that by 7 for the expected training costs. There's some paper. You still have to print that paper. You still are creating that paper, but you're able to shred it afterwards. So generally what we find is people will put the paper into a box for, until the end of the week or so. Occasionally spot check just to make sure they can find those documents. Mostly because, every workplace has got that Gary who forgot to scan them, or Bob who accidentally poured coffee on them and was waiting for it to dry, and someone else, Wenda, walked off with them and assumed that they had already been scanned. And you just need to make sure, mostly user error there, that you actually are scanning and putting them into our system. You cannot retrieve documents that you didn't give us. But there are ways that we can get an export from your DMS and tell you which documents you don't have. That's something you can't get with your paper storage solution. So, there's just a general idea here that scanning takes maybe 20 seconds per document, takes you maybe 5 seconds to find a document. So your total labor is 132 hours a year, instead of the expected, nearly 2,000 hours in filing and 220 hours in searching. So massive savings there. And of course, you now get a room back that's not full of paper. Over time, it will take you some time to say, all right, Drivible is now your new document storage solution from the first of the next month. Everyone starts using Drivible. Often you want about 2 weeks beforehand you start using Drivible, and then at generally the first of a month you say everyone's using Drivible. Everything is now from this date available in Drivible, and you switch over. So I would say that getting $500,000 in savings over that 7 years should definitely be worthwhile. And we do already have a number of dealerships that are using Drivible. We currently have 22 active dealerships. We currently have about 3.5 million pages. This is excluding bulk documents. So we've actually got more like 4.5 million. We have a bunch of other systems and services that you can do with the documents when they're in Drivible, which means that you can be going through and requesting payment. We do an e-invoicing solution. We do a number of other things with your documents there. So we enable a e-sign solution for dealership, for the salespeople, and yeah, in general, we find that dealerships are loving us. We're hoping that you will be one of them. Now, if you don't think that the calculator is correct, there is a whole bunch of advanced settings you can change. How many pages per repair order, how many pages per deal, or per account payable, or an invoice there. How long does it take to file the repair orders? Is it a minute? Is it 45 seconds? Are we looking at 1 in 100 documents or 1 in 20? How long does it take to get them? Maybe that's higher, maybe that's lower. What is your actual hourly rate? Now, this is sort of considered a base rate, and then you've got some on cost multiplier. I guess we should have gone more for 25%, but we are trying to actually show a as much as possible a lower amount than it actually costs. And yeah, these by default will change with your location. How many pages per meter cubed? How many pages in an archival box? How tall is the ceiling? How many pages per filing cabinet? And we've got ideas here about like how many documents are you putting in premium, binders, the nice big binders with actual bits of plastic versus just, shoving them in archive boxes and manila folders. How much does it cost per paper? Like $8 a ream. I just looked all these up on Officeworks, so hopefully they are within reason. And yeah, also, how long does it take to scan? Now, you will probably think repair orders. You've got to scan each repair order individually and then email it. Well, actually, with our bulk document system, you can scan a whole bunch at once, and they will automatically get split and processed. The account invoices, you can get a stamp and put the Drivible X8X stamp on each of the new pages per each document, and quickly we will split them up that way. So you can scan a whole bunch of documents at once and let our system do the rest. We assume it takes 20 seconds to scan, 4 seconds to find, and there's some training time and everything as well. So I changed to those settings where we're assuming it's even a lot longer to actually retrieve, and you actually have to get in the order of 5% of documents, and suddenly now you're looking at $150,000 a year. And if you're doing that in Sydney, maybe it's nearly $200,000 a year. But maybe you look at that and go, well, we aren't doing 40 ROs. Maybe you're only doing 20. So then there is vehicle sales. Maybe you're not selling as much. Maybe you definitely aren't doing as many accounts. Have a play with the calculator. That's what I'm saying. If you don't think it's correct, that's fine. But I do think you'll find that Drivible is definitely worth it. And it is definitely worth you signing up for a free starter plan and just seeing how it works. Have a play. Sign up for a trial. Put in your details and let us know that you would like a demo. Thank you.